Hey, welcome to the show. Welcome today. I am attorney Stephen Leahy. This is the tax talk today, or today's tax talk. I'm sorry. We're going to talk about foreclosure. Last week I talked about the foreclosure moratorium. This week we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and their new rules. We talked about that last week, so we're going to talk about it again this week. So stick around, and we'll figure this out. Thanks so much. So today we're going to talk again foreclosure, how to save your home. So again, welcome to the show. I am your host. I'm attorney Stephen Leahy. This is the tax talk. Today's tax talk. Almost happened to me today. But again, we've been talking about the foreclosure crisis. It's not yet a crisis. It is. I tell you, it's a crisis if you're behind, right? It's a crisis to you. And many people are behind and are in this. They're in this restructuring plan with their mortgage company. I've had a lot of clients now trying to get a loan modification and been denied, either because their income's too low or they can't change it enough. You know, there's certain levels that the mortgage companies are looking for. They have certain, and I think they're not realistic in a lot of times. So a lot of times they're asking you. Now I got to tell you this: I've helped a lot of people with loan modifications in the past, and loan modifications, almost everyone is denied. Okay, that's just the way it works. You get denied, and then you keep fighting, and then you might be denied again. And then you keep fighting, and then you might get denied again. But you keep going until I always tell people, as long as you're in your home, anything can happen, right? They could change their mind. I've seen them change their mind at the last minute. I've seen them go to judgment almost to go sale, and then we file for protection under bankruptcy laws, and then get a loan modification. So I've seen it happen. Again, you have to ask and ask and ask again, and that's generally how it works. And so don't give up. I know it's easy to get disheartened, and I think they want you to be disheartened about these things. And so they just say, nope. They make you jump through all these hoops, and then they say, nope, sorry, you don't qualify. So don't take no for an answer. As long as you're in your house, anything can happen. They can change. You could change. Things can change for you. And so always kind of, always hang in there, keep fighting. And that's what we help people do. Keep fighting. Sometimes you got to take some other action. Remember, first is protect what you have, and secondly is, focus your resources, right? The third thing you do is ask for help from your mortgage company and those other stakeholders. Ask for help. And the fourth thing you do is fight like crazy, not to let, in court, if you have to go to court or go to bankruptcy or whatever you got to do, you got to fight them, right? Keep fighting. And if you're a fighter, they're generally going to change their tune, but not always. Sometimes you still lose, but at least you fought and you made a large fight. That's kind of half the battle. So what I want to talk about today, though, is I'm going to talk about a decision by the Consumer Protection, Financial Protection Bureau is what it's called. This Consumer Protection Financial. Oh, I forgot that. That's a long name. It doesn't fit on my. Okay, so I should change it to the CFPB because that's what they call it. The acronyms, like every other government agency, they go by their acronym. So let's. There was a great article today about this, about what's going on. So I want to read. I'll refer to this article. Right. So under the new foreclosure rule, now we're in a federal rule. Now remember, I talked about this. That the CFPB or CFPB, they had some. They were going to change something in August. They were trying to get their rules changed and make it, and then prevent any servicing company from going into foreclosure for anybody until at least January of next year, 2022. So they didn't do exactly that. The one thing that has happened, well, let's read this because it's all in the story. So let's read this story. The Consumer Protection Protection Bureau finalized a final rule making it mandatory for loan servicers to enhance their efforts to help homeowners affected by a COVID-19 pandemic. So always, if you're doing, and whenever you're trying to do a loan modification, they're going to ask you for a hardship letter. Make sure in your hardship letter you mention the pandemic. Now, the pandemic has hurt almost everybody. So you always use the pandemic, because this is how these programs work, right? They're geared towards helping those that were affected by the pandemic. Well, you were affected by the pandemic, and so you got to make sure that it's in your hardship letter. The new rule ensures that borrowers get a meaningful chance to pursue loss mitigation options to avoid foreclosure, and allows servicers to offer assistance to borrowers faster. Okay, so what happens when people go into foreclosure, or they get behind in their mortgage? They put their head in the sand, right? And they don't want to hear about it. They don't want to look at their monthly statements. They don't want to look at what's going on. But let me tell you something: you got to get your head out of the sand and pick up and start fighting back. You got to start fighting back now, right? You can't wait. There's things you can do. If you wait it happen, then these things aren't going to kick in. So there's these new rules, and we're going to learn about it in just a second. But these new rules mean you have to ask for them. If you don't ask, it's going to go through. So that's really what they changed, right? The rules that the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau wanted didn't require you to do anything. They were just going to push everything until next January. But with the new rules, they're still out there, but you got to ask. Okay, they're not going to give it to you automatically. Okay, so you can still push it until next year. Okay, and that's what you want to do, right? Because you don't know how your circumstances are going to change, right? And that's what we talked about. You never know, so you got to keep fighting and try to prolong it as long as you can, because that makes sense, right? Under the federal mortgage servicing laws, a servicer generally can't initiate a foreclosure until the borrower is more than 120 days delinquent. Now, that's different than Illinois law used to be, right? It used to be if you were more than 30 days late, they generally waited to 60 days. On the 61st day, they would start foreclosure proceedings. But now they're saying 120 days, so that 4 months. So if you're already 4 months behind, then you've already reached that plateau. But here now, so does that mean it's over? No, it doesn't mean it's over, right? So here's where, and if you submit a complete loss mitigation application, so you contact your mortgage company, you ask for a loss mitigation package. We call it a loan modification package. So can you send us a package? And they'll send you a group of documents with checklists and everything that they're looking for, right? And then you have to submit to all this, right? Pull everything up, submit it, and put it. I always do. In my office, we always put stuff together like we're going to go to court. So anytime we say something, we have evidence to back it up. So if I say here, this is my electric bill, have evidence, back it up. This is what my electric bill is. It's because they're going to be basing this on your budget. That's how all of this works. So the servicer must hold off on starting foreclosure until it reviews the application and informs you that you're not eligible for a loss mitigation option, and any appeal you make has been exhausted. Okay, so they'll send you stuff, and they'll say you'll apply, and they'll say no, and then you appeal, right? And I had one today. I had a gentleman send me his final notice, the denial. They denied his loan modification, and in that letter gives you 30 days to appeal. So we're going to come to close to the 30 days, and we'll file an appeal, and we'll appeal it. And now we're going to have to resubmit everything again, and we're going to go through it again, right? And that's going to take some time. And the more people that are involved, right, the more people, as this program gets going, more and more people are going to be involved in this, the longer it's going to take for the mortgage company to process these applications. So the longer it's going to take for you to get a no. And then the longer it's going to take for them to appeal. And then when you get the appeal in, then you appeal again, right? And you can appeal even after they file a foreclosure case. Now, remember, here in Illinois, we could fight the foreclosure. I've had many cases go 2 years, 3 years, longer. Most of them go about a year, year and a half. But while you're in foreclosure, you can still work on loan modifications. Now, you want to do it beforehand because they're going to hit you with fees, right? But after they go into foreclosure, you can still ask for a loan modification. Okay, and that's one way to a remedy to the foreclosure. And all of these courts and the federal government and the financial institutions, they're pushing for these loan modifications rather than a foreclosure onslaught of foreclosures. Okay, you reject the workout. If they give you a workout plan, you can reject it, right? I don't want that one. That's not good enough. If you reject it though, then they can go back and that gives them the right to go to foreclosure. You accept the loss mitigation option, but you fail to comply. So they give you some options and you say, yeah, I'll do it. And then you don't make the payments. A lot of times they'll do a 3-month trial period. At least that's the way it was, back in the day in 2008, through 2012, they would give you a 3-month modification trial period. And so I don't know if they're going to go back to that, but that's what it sounds like. While federal court already prohibits a servicer from beginning a foreclosure until the borrower is more than 120 days delinquent, the new rule provides more protection to borrowers affected by coronavirus. From August 31st, 2021 through December 31st, 2021, unless an exception applies, a loan servicer may not start a foreclosure only if the borrower is over 120 days behind on the mortgage payments and the borrower has abandoned the property, the borrower hasn't responded to the servicer's outreach attempts for 90 days. Again, people put their head in the sand they don't respond. Respond, right? Don't put your head in the sand because here's the rules, right? If I don't respond, now they can go ahead and foreclose on me. And we don't want them to. We want to push it out until next year. Well, if I just follow these rules, it'll go to next year. You accept the loss mitigation option, but failed to come. Okay, so the borrower hasn't responded to the servicer's response. The borrower applied for loss mitigation and was reviewed and deemed ineligible for any loss mitigation option and didn't timely appeal, or the appeal was denied, or the borrower rejected all loss mitigation options, or the borrower did not perform under the option offered. And the borrower remained delinquent at all times since submitting the application. Okay, so again, if you take these steps, they can't file the foreclosure case. So as I mentioned, they wanted to make it a blanket. Okay, nobody can file a foreclosure until next year, but they changed it. Now they're saying, okay, some people can, but if you do these things, you can stop them until next year. And so that's what we want to do. We want to do these things that are in the rules, right? We can hold their feet to the fire, make them follow these rules, and then they won't be able to file the foreclosure case until next year. So it sounds like it's all going away. July 31st, boom, they're going to go to foreclosure, but they're not. Okay, because again, you could take action. Getting help with your mortgage payments, and there's help out there. But if you're behind on your mortgage payments because of COVID, your options depend on what entity, like the Federal Housing Association, the Department of Veterans, the USDA, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and those are 90-some% of all mortgages are covered in all of those, and that alphabet soup right there. More than 90% of all mortgages are in there. Or guarantees your loan, and whether you're exiting a COVID-19 forbearance. A lot of people have the forbearance, right? You most likely have several alternatives. For example, you might qualify for a loan modification or payment deferral, and that's kind of what this whole forbearance thing is. It's a deferral, right? Also, the new rule allows servicers to streamline their loan modification process for borrowers with COVID-19 related hardships, but not making them by not making them submit all the paperwork for every possible option. Because this is one of the things that the mortgage companies would do. They would bombard you with paperwork, and most people can't comply with all that paperwork. And so then they say, well, you didn't do what we asked you to do, you're out. Okay, so then sometimes that's why it makes sense to hire an attorney to help you, or I don't want to recommend any other, but attorneys and Illinois attorneys, because Illinois attorneys you can hold responsible, right? If they don't do something, you can go to ARDC, you can hold them responsible. A lot of back during 2008 and after, a lot of these places popped up for loan modifications, but they weren't lawyers, and they were taking money from everybody, and then they weren't doing anything. Okay, so don't get caught like that. If you're good at paperwork, do it yourself. Okay, most people aren't. They're not good at details, and paperwork, and research. And this is the kind of things that you have to do. If you're good at that, then you should do it yourself. If you're not, and you know that, well, then maybe you should get some help. Okay. Servicers must implement the new rules sooner for Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac loans. Again, these are the majority of all loans are Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Again, the new rule goes into effect on August 31st, 2021. But the Federal Housing Finance Agency, which regulates Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, announced that servicers must follow this new protections a month before the rule takes effect as of July 31st. So that's when it is. So the moratorium stops July 31st, but they have to give you these options before that. Right. So then you have to follow these rules. They're making it a little bit harder, but you could still do it. You can still follow these rules. So the National Foreclosure Moratorium ends on July 31st, 2021. The Biden administration released a statement on June 24th. And I remember I told you that they were probably going to. Now they have added months, but they're probably at the end of adding it. This probably is the last one as far as I know. Okay. So, and again, I've been following this fairly closely. So again, the moratorium does end. They do have things for us that we can avoid the foreclosure. Maybe add time, get to the point where you can buy more time. That's really the key, right? You want to buy more time. That's always the key. Buy more time. So anyway, I hope that helps you. I've been keeping you up to date with all this. I do help people with mortgage foreclosures. The focus of my practice is generally IRS help. So I help people with IRS problems. And a lot of people who have IRS problems also have foreclosure problems. And that's why we call it the full financial recovery package. But if you're behind, get a copy of my book, the Deal with Your IRS Problems Today. It's free. If you go to freeirsbook.com, again, it's free. If you go to freeirsbook.com. And now what I need you to do, again, besides get my book for free, what we need you to do is share, subscribe, and like. Oh, it says here, like, subscribe, share. Okay, either one of those. Pick one, because we need your help. Share this with people who may be behind in their mortgage, and so that there's some hope for them, right? Like our page if you like the content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. That helps. So again, thanks so much for joining us here today. We're going to be here next Monday. Tomorrow is Friday. I always do my radio show. Go to watchtalkradio.com. It's live from 2:00 on. I have a great guest tomorrow, Leahy Sannon. He's a criminal defense attorney in federal courts. He had a very good client recently who just passed away, and maybe you heard of him, McAfee. And so we're going to talk about that tomorrow. So you can join us on watchtalkradio.com or on Facebook. We're going to be on Facebook or YouTube. So follow us there. Thanks so much for your time here today. I appreciate you, and we'll see you next Monday here on Today's Tax Talk.